Zach Laws, Luca Giliberti, thank you for joining me in this Gold Derby Slugfest. It is time to talk about Best Competition Program. Now, we've never had a lineup that was two nominees different from the year before. I thought that maybe this would be the year. I feel like maybe some other people did as well, with Masked Singer coming in, with America's Got Talent seeming to be on the rise. But nope, we just have the same lineup as last year, but without Project Runway since the hosts are gone, and Project Runway has been replaced by Nailed It. So given that we have pretty much the same lineup as last year, which is The Amazing Race, American Ninja Warrior, RuPaul's Drag Race, Top Chef, and The Voice, joined by Nailed It. And this category is one in which the winner tends to be the same for several years on end. Is there any potential for a shakeup this year, Zach?
No, I don't think so. Listen, I feel like you can never count out The Voice. It has won this category several times. But I think when you look at the sheer number of nominations that RuPaul's Drag Race has gotten, and the fact that it continues to grow with each year, the fact that it won last year and is now the incumbent, I feel like if it's not that, then I suppose they'll go back to The Voice. But I don't know. I just don't see there being much competition to the reality competition program.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think RuPaul's Drag Race is a slam dunk at this point. It has one nomination less than last year, but it still has 11 nominations, and that's an incredible total. And I think after The Voice stopped winning, I don't think it'll win again anytime soon, just because that's how the Emmys are sometimes. Once they drop a show, they don't reward it again. And RuPaul's Drag Race is still incredibly popular. It's, everyone talks about it, whereas sometimes I feel like The Voice loses more steam with each passing year. And as for the other nominees, we know The Amazing Race is, an Emmy favorite, used to be an Emmy favorite. But I just don't see anything beating RuPaul at this point.
Yeah, so I'm just checking the list of past winners, and it turns out RuPaul is only on a one-year streak at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe last year was just a fluke, and we'll get back to The Voice for the next several years again. Last year, The Voice was actually stronger than ever in nominations. It got its most nominations ever. This year it's down a few. RuPaul is pretty steady. So what I actually have in second place is Nailed It. Nailed It is on Netflix. It gets TCA nominations. I feel like it is the show that has some people excited in this category, which is more than I can maybe say about the other nominees.
I should at least have that in third, considering it is the new kid on the block, and like you said, it is on Netflix, which is the most popular network on television right now. Ironic, considering it's technically not a television network, but there you go. I think that, in terms of like RuPaul versus The Voice, you could feel how much people loved seeing RuPaul's Drag Race win last year. Just like the year before, you could feel how disappointed everyone was to see it lose to The Voice. Which just makes me feel like there is this passion for that show. The fact that RuPaul himself keeps winning for reality host year after year after year. It's a show that has all this great production value. It's got these great costumes, it's got these great characters, it's got these amazing sets and all these things. How can you compete with it? As popular as The Voice is, how do you compete with that?
And I actually think it helps him that he won for the first, or that the show itself won for the first time last year, because, it had been building up enough goodwill throughout the years. I mean, RuPaul kept winning his category, and I think last year it finally had enough support to actually take home a competition series or competition program. And we're not at a point yet where there's fatigue for the show because it only won once. And as Zach said, there's still so much passion for it that I just don't see anything else in this race being able to beat it.
Now, Zach, you are a resident Drag Race viewer. I don't think Luca watches it regularly.
I am, yes.
I do not. Now, I've heard rumblings that this was actually a down season for Drag Race, which I did not see reflected in IMDb ratings or anything, but I kind of hear that around. Was it? And will that affect anything?
Not to make a dad joke out of it, but I didn't find this season to be a drag at all. I mean, I guess it could, but then again, it's like, how was this season of The Voice? You know, how was this season of Top Chef or The Amazing Race or American Ninja Warrior? I mean, all those seem to be kind of like, you know, pretty same old at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Nothing in this. If The Masked Singer were nominated, as popular as that show is, I would think maybe RuPaul is in trouble, right? Because that's a show that people are at least talking about. Don't know why exactly, but they are. None of these other shows, I mean, other than, as you say, Nailed It, seem to be catching the zeitgeist in any sort of way. You know, and I think even RuPaul's worst season has probably got more passionate support behind it than some of these other programs' best.
I think what's tricky about this category is that it's voted on by everyone. You know, since it is a program category, you know, all branches are eligible to vote for it. So, you know, the nominations, they tend to be just the same thing every season. And, you know, as Zach, I like that point about, you know, did any of these shows have a good season or a bad season? It doesn't really matter because they're probably just voting on their past viewing of it, you know, several years ago.
Yes.
All right, so we'll move on to the reality host category. This year we have the three-time winner RuPaul Charles, again nominated for Drag Race. We also have James Corden coming in for The World's Best, Ellen DeGeneres coming in for Ellen's Game of Games, Marie Kondo coming in for Tidying Up, and Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman sharing a nomination for Making It. So out this year, we have United Shades of America with W. Kamau Bell. He's out. Jane Lynch, she won a couple times, twice a few years ago. She is done for Hollywood Game Night. And we are also missing the Project Runway hosts because they are gone, and we have new hosts that I guess the Emmys did not take to. So this category, unlike the series category, is not voted on by everybody. I think it's just voted on, I'll have to check, but it's just a few branches. So the nominations can be a bit more inspired. So in this category, is RuPaul just going to win again, especially since the series is so strong right now?
I think he'll still take it this year. I think it'd be his fourth win at this point. I still think he has enough passion, and the show has enough passion to still get him across the finish line, even though I did mention before that sometimes once someone's won so many times, there's, fatigue that comes with it. But I don't think RuPaul falls under that category. I do think we have some competition here compared to a competition series, because there are a lot of people happy about Nick Offerman finally getting his first Emmy nomination, or about Marie Kondo making it in, because her show is on Netflix. It's incredibly popular. I even hear people talking about it over here. So I would not be surprised if someone else upset in this category, whereas I would be very surprised if something beat RuPaul's Drag Race in competition series.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Luca said, I think that he definitely has more competition this year than he would have had last year. If they had just nominated, like you said, Riley, the same old people who had been nominated for the last couple of years, then I would think that he would just walk to victory this way. But give me 1 second here.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the Emmy rules, and it's just kind of a hodgepodge of peer groups that I think don't have long enough ballots, and they kind of say, okay, you can vote for the host category as well. So we've got casting directors can vote on host, the daytime programming branch, which I did not know was a thing. This is their only individual achievement category that they're allowed to vote on. They can vote on host, and then they can vote on all the series categories. And the producers branch, again, they don't really have their own category because they just vote for series. The production executives branch, the professional representatives branch, the reality branch, of course, and the television executives branch. They can all vote in this category. And the television executives branch is actually the largest in the Academy, or at least it was the last time the Academy disclosed which branch was the largest, which is different from the Oscars where the actors branch is the biggest. So we are looking at about 3,000 or so members in the television executives branch, which is a substantial portion of the 24,000 in the Academy overall. So I find that, if RuPaul were to lose in this category, that might be a bad sign for the main category, since this might be a decent sample size of the Academy overall. So I'm actually going with Marie Kondo. Mostly because I've lost my marbles and I don't feel like getting points. But what I like about her nomination is that she actually got it because people are watching her show, or at least watching viral clips from her show and its related properties. Whereas, Ellen DeGeneres, James Corden, Amy Poehler, maybe voters watch their shows, maybe they just like those names. Marie Kondo, she definitely did not get her nomination through name recognition.
Yeah, the thing I was going to say before the doorman interrupted me was James Corden and Ellen DeGeneres, I don't think they're really factors in this race. Marie Kondo is. And to an extent, I think also Nick Offerman and Amy Poehler, just because, I think there's a lot of goodwill towards both of them. Amy Poehler, of course, just won her first Emmy as a sort of 2-for-1 deal with Tina Fey hosting Saturday Night Live. And Nick Offerman, I think there's a lot of people who think he should have won several Emmys for Parks and Recreation, and they're just probably glad to see that he's finally nominated for something. So I think that both of them could probably, both of them meaning the duo of Offerman and Poehler, and then Marie Kondo, could be competition for RuPaul. But ultimately, we see a lot of times with these Emmy categories, they like to just vote for the same people over and over again. And it definitely helps that his show is still the front runner to win in competition series.
And it's the same thing for me, because I'll be predicting RuPaul until, we realize that the show itself isn't doing well anymore. If, next year it gets 5 nominations instead of 11, maybe that would be a sign that there's less support for him as well. But at this point, I just feel like there's too much buzz. There's too much passion for him not to win. And I do have Amy Poehler and Nick Offerman in second place. But what worries me about them is that the last time a duo won for hosting was in 2013 when Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn won. And I think there's also something to say about the Queer Eye hosts omission in this category, which, could be reasoned with the fact that they are 5 hosts. And I'm not sure how well they respond to duos in general. But I do think Marie Kondo, as Riley said, is a factor in this race because she got in on popularity, not on name check, not because the show was received nominations across the board, but because she herself as a host is incredibly popular, and her show does stream on Netflix, so that does count as well.
I think you could make the argument that she was the most seen of all the nominees this year. Whereas I'm not sure that voters, as we said, are watching several of these shows. They have seen RuPaul at some point. I don't know if they're still watching Drag Race. Whereas any viewing of Tidying Up definitely happened during this eligibility period. So I wonder if she could mobilize support from people who normally see this category on their ballot, and they kind of just skip it because they are not partial to any of them because they don't watch, reality TV.
Yes.
I think we've done reality to death. Yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised to see if anything other than Drag Race can win in competition series. I do think there is some competition for RuPaul, but I'm still gonna put my money behind Mama Ru until I am proven otherwise.